Dropping parachute. Yeah! Woohoo!
If I die before I wake, at least in heaven I can skate. 'Cause right now on earth,
You gotta just at some point just push over the edge.
Heaven is a half pipe.
So, sir, what challenges have you faced in your life?
Oh, that's a really good question, Jack. Well, obviously, one of the biggest challenges is my disability. You know, the fact that I'm in a wheelchair now, which you've just reminded me about, which is not great, but there you go.
Tell us more about your disability, sir.
Well, obviously, I'm spinally injured, which happened 25 years ago. And I've been in the wheelchair ever since. I was trying to forget about it, but you know, I get constant reminders from people. There you go.
Do you recall much of your accident, sir?
Not really, because I was run down, basically. But I was so lucky that day because it was mixed emotions, because it was a mix of being very, very lucky and being obviously very, very unlucky, because I was knocked over, and then two cars behind were two off-duty paramedics who actually revived me on the roadside, because I'd actually died, and then they brought me back to life, and so here I am, which was incredibly lucky.
Give us an example of how your disability changed your life.
Well, people say, believe it or not, that before my disability I was even more grumpy and miserable than I am now. If you can imagine that. I obviously can't. I think, like, one of the challenges when you are injured, like I was, you just have to reinvent yourself. So it's almost like ground zero. One minute I was a PE head of PE at a school over in North London. I was very, very active, played a lot of sport, and then bosh, everything has changed. So I think something internalised inside you, just deep inside, that you have to root out, and you just have to reinvent yourself. You've got two choices. You either sit at home drinking alcohol all day, or you have to get back out. I tried the alcohol bit for
It worked, no?
till last week, and now I'm going to try something else.
So, what are your challenges in your daily routine?
I mean, do you want me to get the violin out? So, the challenges are, like, everyone has their own challenges, but things like filling up with petrol, just getting dressed, getting on public transport, being a legend at St. Paul's is very stressful, the usual stuff.
Right. How do people react to your disability?
Very well, normally, very respectful. People, tend to treat me really nicely. I think too nice, probably. I use it for my own advantage sometimes. Let me give you an example of that. When I came to interview at St. Paul's, the interview wasn't going very well. So of course, right, I'm thinking to myself, how am I going to turn this round? So I just fell out of the wheelchair, and they had to scoop me up and put me back in the chair, and then they just didn't have the heart not to give me the job. So it works in my favour sometimes.
Okay, how does people's perception of your disability have an impact on your life?
I think that relates back to the last question. I think people are really, really good. Too good, I think, because I don't deserve that. But people do stare at me, which is, I've got three categories of people who stare. Young children, for some reason, older people, and really attractive women. I don't know why.
Has your disability made you a different person?
You'd have to ask people who knew me before my accident. I like to think it doesn't, but it probably does. I think that going back to the theme of challenges, it's one of those things that you just have to. It's the old fight or flight syndrome. You either you fight it, or you bury your head in the sand. So I like to think I do all right. I hope that when I'm working at the school, I'd like to think that people look at me as a teacher rather than, the miserable old git in the wheelchair in the corner. You decide which one. Yeah.
What advice would you give us as sixth formers facing the stress of upcoming exams?
Now, as I said, this is the main theme of the assembly, and I realise how stressful the next 3-4 months are going to be. But my only advice would be is that you've all got the ability. You can all do really well, but you've really got to marry that with determination. And as I sometimes say to people, it's not always what's in your head, it's what's in your heart. You've really got to grasp the nettle and make sure that you grab the opportunities. Practical things like, we bang on about this, but speaking to your teachers, making sure that you're aware of what it is you need to learn through PLCs, all the usual practical stuff. It's boring, but it's stuff that you need to do.
And what would your message be to the whole of the sixth form?
Can't wait till you leave would be my first one. And another one is, I always say this, but if you ever see me on the streets outside St Paul's when you leave, please don't come up and say hello to me, because I'm not interested.
Okay.
Yeah. Apart from that, I love you all to bits. I just want you to do really well. Just make sure that you do yourself proud. Okay?
All right. Thank you very much, sir.
It's a pleasure. Thanks.
Sit down.
How much time have you
Sit down!
Right. How much time have you got today?
I've got not a lot of time really, but anyway, let's forget the time element. What about the hard wonga? How much am I going to get for this?
Jack, you need to move.
Oh, what do you need to do?
Oh,
I can't be sitting down. I have to enter and talk to him in a general way, like I don't know. So wait, how long was you actually dead for?
I don't know. It must have been as long as you can die for without being dead.
Right. Okay.
I must have gone to hell though, because all I remember was seeing a lot of your faces.